honestly, we did in fact actually discuss what we were going to talk about, and I think that because I was reading a little bit about your guys' history or individually your career, your life, and I think that we would love to be able to introduce you and what you've been through and kind of be able to tell the story to our followers or our listeners of kind of how you started a podcast and what really drove that, and then talk about your podcast.
Let's take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're that's perfect. Let us know when to start and we'll go.
Yeah, let's start right now, guys.
I mean, we usually honestly, it's probably already started.
It did. Actually. Hey, you guys. Yeah, we always start record. And we just listen to whatever we're saying. Yeah. So you guys, welcome to another episode of Between the Revs with Brooke and Gina. We have, which you've already been listening to us talk, we have some guests on the show via Skype audio. And we've got the guys from Mind Pump Podcast. We got Sal. Or is there just the two of you?
It's just Adam and I, yeah.
Okay, so we got Sal and Adam. And then there's 4 hosts for your show.
No, there's 3. Yeah, Justin's the other host, and then Doug is our producer. So he'll sometimes chime in, but he's just right now he's just sitting behind, making sure everything's running right. Yeah.
Well, Doug, thanks for setting this up, and
welcome.
I'm happy that we were finally. I'm happy we're finally doing this. I'm kind of bummed that we didn't realize we were so close, distance wise, because we could have actually
done it before
in person, which we'll do.
Yeah. No, I look forward to meeting you guys now that I know you're close. Just after all this nonsense is over, and everybody gets comfortable, that you guys we'll invite you down to the studio. And
Justin actually lives in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, he's up in that area.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, but yeah. Tell us about yourselves.
Okay. So it's funny because you have Adam and I on the show, and the funny thing is we have very similar paths through the fitness industry, through our professional careers. We actually probably should have crossed paths at least a dozen times, but we never really did. So we both started our fitness careers at 24 Hour Fitness. I started in the late 90s. Adam started in early 2000s. And, at that time, it was the fastest growing fitness organization in the world. This is when Mark Mastroff was running the company. It was a very dynamic company, lots of things to learn. And both Adam and I independently were known as 2 top producers in the company. So, you're competing with the other clubs in the company. There's 400 locations. There's thousands of trainers and hundreds of managers and whatnot. And you're constantly competing. And I knew of Adam because we were always both mentioned as, 2 young, what they would consider exceptional performers in the club. I was grand opening clubs and he was managing a lot of the top fitness departments in the company. And we both had mutual friends. There were people that I had hired and that worked with me that then later on worked with Adam, or, vice versa. They worked with him and then they knew me. And they would always mention, and it's funny, we talk about this now. I had no idea this was happening on the other end, but these people would always tell me, you need to meet Adam. You guys will be great together. You guys should work together. So I would hear his name all the time, and I'd see him in the leaderboards, or what they would send out a performance review or whatever. But I never actually met him. So fast forward, I had left 24 Hour Fitness. I had opened up my own personal training studio. He had left the industry and actually started some of the first medical marijuana clubs in San Jose. So he'd pivoted out of the industry a little bit, but we were still aware of each other. And, years later, I created a workout program. Doug, who's our producer, actually was one of my clients. And he came to me after training him for a little while. And he said, hey, I have a little bit of internet marketing experience. If you ever have anything you'd like to sell online, let me know and I'll help put it together for you. And so I created the first MAPS program. So, one of the ways we monetize our podcast is we sell fitness programs, and they're all called MAPS. MAPS, and they're all different for different individuals. But the original one was called MAPS Anabolic, and we put together all this internet marketing material, and I wrote some stuff around it. And I had remembered Adam, and at this time I had watched him grow his social media influence. I was very inactive on social media. I could care less about it. But I had watched Adam grow his following. At the time, he was competing as a physique competitor and had gotten a pro card. And so him and I started started talking to each other through DM and then text. And because I had heard so many good things about the guy, I thought, what a great person to ask an honest opinion, because I really wanted an honest opinion on the program that I put together, the marketing material. I wanted feedback. I wanted feedback from somebody that I had respected. So I asked him if he would, look it over and let me know what he thought. I sent it to him, and he called me shortly after, and we got on the phone and talked about our opinions of the fitness industry, the directions we saw, all the things that we had learned through the years. We had worked, with clients, training people, managing gyms, and we agreed that we should probably meet and talk about doing something together. And so at that time, Adam, his partner was Justin. They were working on a side project. Doug, of course, was the guy that helped me put together this program. And so we all met in Adam's living room. And that first meeting, it was immediate. You could sense that the chemistry was it was just undoubtable. It was we talked for 4 hours straight. We all had the same drive and motivation. All of us really saw the potential, the good potential that the fitness industry could provide, especially because chronic health problems are the main health problems that we're not being able to solve through Western medicine, and we saw how the fitness industry could really help that. But we also saw a lot of the negative aspects of the fitness industry, things that used to annoy us, the way that it would market to people's insecurities and how it made people feel bad, and all the terrible workouts and diets and supplements. And so we said, let's start a podcast and let's be brutally honest. And the good thing about the podcast space is there's very little barrier to enter. We didn't have to have a sponsor, so we could be totally honest and raw. That's always our tagline: raw fitness truth. And we had a great time, and it resonated. It seemed to resonate, with a lot of people.
Yeah, because there's a lot of misinformation out there,
and there's always new misinformation,
right? Fake news
being created constantly.
Yeah, it's not only that. It's at this when we did this, because it's been over 5 years now, and when we were meeting and talking, it was 6 years ago. And at that time, the formula of success in the fitness space, and it still is today. So I really think that we were one of the first to really come in and disrupt this. Is you build a community, and once you've built a community of people, whether that be through fame in a magazine, or you're super good looking on social media, so you get all this attention, and then you take that network of people, and a majority of people in the space get picked up by a supplement company, and then your message ends up turning into just pitching whatever products, and you make a commission, or you have a partnership with them, whatever, or you start your own. And that's been kind of the formula for really big success in our space. And it's been that way for a really long time. And one of the things that all three of us agreed on is, the thousands of clients that we've trained over 2 decades was, I can't think of a single one of them that I fundamentally changed their life through giving them supplements, or telling them this is the best fat burner, or make sure you take your branched chain amino acid, or make sure you get so if that was true, then why is that a majority of what the message is when you get into the magazines, when you get into people of the masses that have large followings? And we wanted to expose that. And because we knew that we didn't have to make any money when we first started this, we all had different careers and businesses that were doing fine. It was a passion project. We weren't worried about risking no supplement companies are going to want to sponsor us. And we didn't care. We said, who cares if that's the main way that people monetize podcasts, or through supplement companies, if you're a fitness podcast. We didn't give a shit. We didn't care if it didn't make any money or not. Our goal was just to kind of expose the truth and share that. And like Sal said, it resonated, and it grew organically. And we didn't hire a marketing team until year 3, I think. Yeah, year 3 before we did that. The first whole year, even though Sal had created Maps Anabolic, we had an online digital program to sell. We didn't sell it, though. We didn't even tell our audience. So we did over 200 and something episodes before we even mentioned that we had something to sell. We waited until we felt like people were banging on our door to sell something to them. And that's when we released the first program and began to monetize. But up to that point, it was just about presenting as much good information. And a lot of that was counter common knowledge. And I think that's what people really appreciated. We had some crazy, probably narcissistic vision that we could actually, 3 guys come in and completely change the fitness industry. We really did probably believe that.
We still do.
We still do, right? And so, and here we are 5 years plus later. And, I don't know, there's a lot of messages that I think we feel like that we are a big part of that is starting to spread. And I think more and more people are becoming more transparent and authentic with the stuff that they're presenting. And I think authenticity is becoming cool again. And I think we live in a very superficial world, and with social media, it's an incredible tool, but it's also really fake a lot of time. And, we led in a way that I think most people, and definitely most fitness men, would not do in this space. We led with our insecurities. We shared that on the podcast. You got 3 macho-looking dudes talking about their feelings and their insecurities and how it was a major motivator during their fitness path. And I think that just resonated with a lot of normal people. And we also saw that a lot of the most successful people in the fitness space were also competing over the same small sliver of people. Like they're all, it's like if you come from either there's like the entertaining side and there's like the academic side. The academic side is over there talking about how much smarter they are than somebody else, or that my study says this, and they're arguing over semantics. The entertainment side is like, look at me, or what can I do to get the attention of these people? And they're all speaking to the same small pool of people. And we really were more interested in the 80% of the people that didn't think that fitness was for them. That, I don't have normal ass people. My mom, my mom, my aunts, like family members and stuff, and people that our clients, the people that would hire us for many years. Your average engineer who, is doing it because he has to do it because his doctor told him to do it. Like, we're trying to get those people interested in taking care of themselves. And we're not worried about fighting over the people that are already motivated to go to the gym, since that portion is much bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so our
They're just
message
out there trying to inspire. Everyone's trying to inspire somebody.
100%.
We're all inspirational now.
Right.
Followed up with a really shitty inspirational quote on their Instagram post.
Yeah.
So true, right? I say it all the time. Motivation is bullshit. Self-belief is everything. And that's just it, is that we weren't going to come in and try and compete with those people. We really believed that was the wrong message for the majority.
Yeah. It's funny because, hindsight's always 20/20, right? So you can always look back and say, oh, this is what worked and this is what didn't work. And again, we had 0 experience. So, here we are, 3 knuckleheads on the podcast. And we don't have any media experience. We don't know how to talk into a mic properly and how to open a show properly. But what we did have, and this is again, hindsight. So what we did have was decades of experience communicating fitness and health to everyday people through training clients. And what you learn when you train everyday regular people for years and years and years is you learn how to communicate very effectively, very, very effectively. And so this is what came across even in those early days when we were shitty podcasters was that effective communication, Like I'll give you a really good example. Here's a good example. Like one of the things that took me years to learn as a trainer was, when clients hire you to train you, they don't necessarily relate to you. They look at you and they see you're this fit person, you're younger maybe, you work out all the time, you love fitness. Like, you don't know me, I got 3 kids, I'm busy, I've got problems with my diet. I hate working out. I hate working out, I gotta lose, 50 pounds. And so that's a tough hurdle. And what you learn is if I can get over that hurdle, if I can connect and relate to this person, it's gonna be a lot easier for them to hear what I'm saying about fitness, nutrition, and health. And one of the easiest ways to do that took me forever to figure out, was to be honest, authentic, and vulnerable. Like if this person sees me and thinks I'm this perfect person that loves working out, and then, my conversation, and they tell me about how they want to lose weight, and I say to them, hey, what motivated me to work out? I was really, really skinny. I did a lot of bad things to my body because I hated the way I looked. I was very insecure. Automatically, right away, they start to see that, oh, this person's real, just like I am. So totally. And then they hear what you have to say. Here's another example. I'll give you another great example. So you may have a client that comes to you and as a new trainer, and they may say to you, this is one of the most common objections that you'll hear from everyday people when it comes to fitness, is they'll say they just don't have enough time. It's just, I'm so busy. I've got kids. I've got a full-time job. I've got bills. I've got a spouse, so a wife or husband. I just don't have the time to dedicate to fitness. Now, the inexperienced new trainer, the motivational trainer might say something like, you got to find the time. We all have 24 hours a day. It's all up to you. It's how you prioritize. We all have the same amount of time during the day. Oh, and by the way, if you prioritize working out, it benefits everything else, and you're healthy and you're fit and all that stuff. Now, that's all true. There's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Here's a better approach. Better approach is this. Client comes to you and says, I just don't have a lot of time. I don't have enough time to dedicate. And then I would respond, how much time do you think you have? Like, what's realistic for you? And then whatever they give you is what you work with. 1 day a week. I can come here 1 day a week. No problem. I'm going to train you 1 day a week. 1 day a week is way better than 0 days a week. And we can go really far with that. And then what you learn is by getting them to come once a week, showing them that that's okay. This is how we're going to work out. Doing your best with that 1 day a week is eventually they start to come back and say, I think I have another day a week I can work out. It's a far more effective way of communicating. And so again, hindsight, how did Mind Pump achieve its initial success? Terrible podcasters, but really good at communicating fitness. That was it. That's where it started.
Yeah.
Yeah. People just need to feel equal to you, and I do think that for me as, a personality, or even in my sport, or in how I gained popularity and how I've become someone who I have a pretty big following, but the percentage of people that genuinely listen to me and engage with me is very high. And that's something that's super valuable. And it's because, from the very beginning, I've focused so much on being real and authentic and being open and vulnerable even when it felt like it was really hard to do that. And I've just kind of always lived that way, and was that way with social media, and was that way with interviewing or answering questions and things. And a big reason why is you have people who...
Wait, are they talking?
I don't know.
No,
it's just...
Sorry.
It's just
we're listening.
Oh, sorry.
We were just
thing keeps going in and out.
I think you were just hearing us for some reason.
Oh,
in your phone. Maybe I was screaming into the
voices
microphone.
in my head. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
I know. Sorry.
Jesus, Gina.
I know.
Hey, But I've mentioned this to people too that have come to me being like, how do I build my social media? How do I get sponsored? How do I do this? And my biggest response is always to be authentic and be real and vulnerable, because a lot of time you'll see people that will grow, popularity because they're pretty and they take great photos, and what they're doing is they're posting exactly what they think people want to hear or see. And then you start doing that, and you start to become this persona that's not, it's like a piece of you, but not all of you. And it can become very exhausting. And at some point, how are you going to be able to keep that up?
I totally agree with that. Luckily for us, we started this as, we were not young kids. We weren't in our early 20s. I think if we started in our early 20s, it would have been a little bit different, but we were at the age, we were all in our mid 30s, lots of experience, working in the fitness space, working with clients. And you get to a point where you don't care. I don't care if you like me or you don't. I'm just going to be kind of who I am. And it's just more effective when I train my clients. Luckily, we entered into it in that way. And you're absolutely right. How exhausting it must be to be someone else through media, and then to get popular for that fake persona. Gosh, I couldn't imagine walking around getting recognized by somebody and knowing that who they're recognizing or why they like me is not who I am. We've met people like that.
There's a lot of them in this space.
we've met people, YouTube celebrities and whatnot, and we meet them, and you talk to them in person, you're like, wow, that person is way different. That must be a terrible, like, exhausting place to be when you're walking around and you're not who everybody thinks you are. So screw that. And it doesn't guarantee. By the way, it doesn't guarantee success. I mean, you can be your authentic self and nobody cares.
Yep. 100%.
Right. or when you're like way shittier looking in person. I mean, that would be exhausting.
No, what do people tell us? Oh my God, you guys are so much prettier in person.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
like,
No, I was told that you're taller and prettier than I thought you were.
Oh, that's awesome. See, isn't that
I was
great?
like, thanks. I mean, I guess that's better than, you're uglier than I thought.
You guys, Gina and I just discovered maybe our favorite subscription.
Really cool company.
It's called CauseBox.
CauseBox.
And I need to tell you about it because you get it quarterly. So it comes 4 times a year. The subscription box curated by women for women, and it's filled with all sorts of amazing products and brands that are ethical, sustainable, and have positive mission to give back and make the world better. And we love
anything that's gives back.
Like that has like a bigger reason behind what they're doing. Right. Every cause box is limited edition. It comes with 6 to 8 full-size products. You can get everything from skincare, jewelry, homewares, and accessories. And the last 4 boxes sold out within days, which I can totally believe because the one that we got, it's got to
be worth over $250.
Yeah.
I can't talk. $250.
Yeah, and it's
for
like
$50. Yeah. So it's a great deal.
I was really surprised that it does come with all the full size things.
Right.
Because a lot of curated
They
boxes
just have like samples and stuff.
Yeah, samples.
I loved, I'm actually wearing them. See?
Oh,
my little earrings. I got my cute little earrings in there. So really cute stuff.
Yeah, the one that we got, it came with a cute bento box for meal prepping.
It had the little jade roller.
Yeah, and a clutch.
Mm-hmm. That was really
you got
cute.
A clutch.
Yeah.
Which is
really cute.
It also comes with a magazine that tells you the story and mission behind each product in the box, which is really cool. So
you know exactly where it's going.
Yeah. Obviously, one of the best parts is that it just comes in the mail.
Right. It's like Christmas. 4 times a year.
It really is. Normally we buy our own presents.
Right.
But CauseBox sends you presents. You can get this for yourself. You can buy it for a friend. Get it for your mom, sister, all your girlfriends. It's a really great gift. It's a great subscription to gift that to somebody. You're the best.
And it's very cool because you're gifting it to somebody. But since it is going towards a cause, it's even better.
Yep.
You can like look at there and, see where that money's going.
And the best part,
helping out.
Yeah. The best part is our listeners have an exclusive discount. If you go to www.causebox.com/Brooke and
That's
use
CAUSE,
Yeah.
cause BOX, CauseBox.
Say it again, spell it.
Oh wait, I forgot how to spell cause. CAUSEBOX.com/Brooke and use the code Brooke to get your first box for 30% off. As in, you can get your first box worth over $250 for less than $39 and free shipping. Go check out CauseBox right now. We can tell you firsthand. You're gonna love it.
You're gonna love it. You know what is somewhat can be like an uncomfortable conversation or just experience is dealing with or having to ask for help. If you need counseling or just someone to talk to for all kinds of reasons, whether it's maybe
something that's interfering with your happiness.
Yeah.
So BetterHelp it's a website. Mm-hmm. So you just go on there and you
sign up, and they have all sorts of licensed professional counselors who specialize in things like depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflicts, LGBT matters, grief, self-esteem. You can get started in under 24 hours.
Yeah. Which is really nice because, when looking for a counselor, a lot of times you have to make an appointment, and then you end up talking to somebody and you may not end up even liking them.
Yep. And then if you don't like them, you go through the whole process of finding someone. You have to go to their office, set a time that works for you and works for them. It can be really, inconvenient. And if you don't like them, it's like, great. Now I have to start all this whole process over again.
Right.
With BetterHelp, if you aren't jiving with the counselor you have, not
can
a problem.
change it at any
You
time.
just change it at any time, which also I think, for me, it can be a little bit of an uncomfortable experience, maybe
Breaking
opening
up, maybe opening up and then having to break up
Yes.
break up with your counselor.
So being able to do it in the comfort of your own home, already it's going to be a little bit easier.
Yeah. Well, it's convenience.
Super
and it's
convenient.
affordable.
BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available.
Which is really cool, because that's another thing. There's so many people out there that really need help that don't have the money.
Yep.
To time and the money. So this kind of helps with both of those.
Yeah. So if you guys are, dealing with some personal stuff and you really would like to talk to someone, and maybe you're someone who you're dealing with it, but you have a hard time asking for help, this is a great way to get started.
Right. In the privacy of your own home.
Yep. So as one of our listeners, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/reps.
Again, that's betterhelp.com/reps for 10% off your first month.
Join over 800,000 people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/reps.
So go check it out, guys.
I've definitely met some, YouTube very popular people, and had real conversations with them because I got to know them as their, who they really were. And it's so sad, seeing them being in such a dark place. And a lot of it kind of comes from they need to keep doing what they're doing so they can keep, making money and pay their bills and grow this thing. But at the same time, they're just so exhausted and so tired.
I think we all see it a lot right now because it's relatively new still, right? I mean, Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and all those things, they haven't been around that long. And, we saw a lot of, Insta fame happen kind of overnight, relatively quick when the platforms came out. And, there were some people that were having some great financial success from it. And so that just, the droves of people came in after that and are trying to duplicate what they're doing so they too can have success. And so I think we're seeing a lot of the effects of that, okay, so you've reached millions of followers and maybe you've making a little bit of money, but you're not happy. And it happens in fitness all the time. We talk about this about reaching fitness. We just did an episode about mindset, and a lot of times people are so focused on the result, and then they get there and they think that if they get there, they'd be happy, and they're not happy.
Right.
I think the same thing happens when people get into the Instagram and Facebook and YouTube game. They get in there going my goal is to get this many. Yeah, exactly. Become an influencer. And then they get to that point and they realize, shit, it's not what I thought it was going to be. And I'm not as happy as I thought I'd be. And you sometimes have pigeonholed yourself into a position where you have to continue doing this because it's now become your main source of income, and it pays your mortgage or it pays your rent. And, now you're like, shit, I got to keep doing this because it's the only way that I can continue. And so I think we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of, it has to be feeding into the rise of depression and anxiety and all the things that we see.
Yeah. And, it's really, really clear, or at least it became very clear to me when I first met some of the fittest, leanest, most awesome looking people in fitness. And you meet them and they're ripped and they're shredded, and you get to know them and you realize they have the worst body image issues, worse than there are more body image issues and eating disorders in professional fitness than there is in the general population. And you start to see that and realize, go, wait a minute, you're representing health, but you're not doing very good.
Yeah, you're not healthy.
And those are the people that are communicating. They're communicating fitness and health. And look, I'm not necessarily blaming them. Consumers are the ones that drive that. But there's something to learn from them. One thing that we looked at, Adam mentioned the academia side and the entertainment side. Academia's got really, really good information, but they don't get the attention. The entertainment side does. The good looking, razzle dazzle gets all the attention. Well, if we're gonna win this information war, in the fitness space, if we're going to beat the bad information, not by silencing them, because we don't believe in that, but by beating them because our information is good, the only way we're going to beat them is if we communicate our information better. We have to have we have to be entertaining too. We got to be able to get people's attention too. And so that's a big component of our show is the entertainment factor. We have an intro where we do current events. And we know, look, this part of that is, we got great information, but if we're not entertaining you or we're boring, it doesn't matter. You're going to go to the other person. So the only way to win is to fight fire with fire. And so it's like, how can we say the right stuff, but make it sound cool and sexy and sell it better to you than the other guy? Like, how can I sell? And that's a hard sell, by the way. Let me tell you, like you got this person over here that says you're going to lose, 30 pounds in 30 days and look amazing. And then you got me over here that says it's going to take you a year and it's a long, hard road, struggle. That's a hard sell. So you got to figure out how to do that. But, I think there's a lot of potential in our space. I think if you look at all of our long-term, chronic health problems like obesity, diabetes, and a lot of the preventable cancers, the fitness space is the space that has all the answers. It really does. Of all the spaces that exist, the medical space doesn't. They don't have the answers for chronic problems. We know this. If your doctor is not going to help you learn how to have a better relationship with food and exercise so that you lose weight and have better health forever. They're not going to help you with that. It's the fitness space. The fitness space can do that. So, our goal is to shift it however little we can to change the course of the direction of the space. And the way we do that is by trying to get the popularity, get the success, because that's who people tend to follow. And so if we're doing well, then other people in our space are going to say, what are they doing? Okay, let's see if we can move in that direction. And we've had some success. The show now reaches over 2 million, downloads a month. And that puts us as one of the top most popular fitness podcasts. Still a lot of work to be done, because when you look at like how many people, other popular fitness companies reach that aren't necessarily promoting the right stuff, it pales in comparison. But we're trying and it's growing. And I think, the longer we do it and the more we can influence other people to do it that way, I think the better. And that's really what drives us. It's really what's driven us from day one, and it's what continued to drive us, and I think it'll always drive us.
I think that something that's super powerful, that it could be like a, not necessarily a slower way to grow bigger, but we're having to take sort of, it's a slower route, but it's the longevity in it is so much more powerful. Being able to connect with more people and create real interaction and relationships that actually, change people's lives. And it's doing it that way. It's being authentic. It's being real. It's not taking, doing things a certain way just because it's like a shortcut to be more popular. And that's what a lot of people will do because they're a little desperate. I think it's really cool for you guys, how you said you started, which is kind of how me and Gina started. Like, it wasn't about making any sort of income.
No.
It was never considering,
still really aren't.
Yeah, no. It was never considering like, this is a means to an end financially. It was more so like, this is just another great way for us to be able to communicate more often with the people that, want to hear from us, and that we can be a really positive influence for and change people's lives. And when that is the goal, and like you chase that and you don't chase the dollar, it might take a little bit longer to end up, get to where it is still helping you financially and can become something really great on that end, but it will last. It will last so much longer. And
and I feel like it's
100%.
something you can like feel good about.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, even if it isn't like successful, at least we can like feel good about what we did.
Yeah.
Well, it's how you. It's funny that social has changed the landscape so much, because these are really like fundamental rules of building a business 2 decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentor a lot of trainers that are trying to build like a social following, and they're always looking for the quick hack to get an extra 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 followers. And I always find it so interesting because you know, in the old brick and mortar days, if one person walked in your store and you just opened your doors and you're ecstatic. And how do you treat that person? You walk over to them, you talk to them. What can I do for you? You befriend them. You only got one customer. You know, the next day, 2 or 3 might come in, and the way you talk and treat each individual that is paying attention to your business is so different. We live, and I think social feeds this instant gratification generation that's growing up right now of, you know, like I'm not happy unless I'm getting thousands of new followers. It's like, Jesus, do you really need that to have a successful business? You don't. If you got 500 people that fucking love you and love what you have to say and believe, and you're changing 500 people's lives, Jesus, you could build a very substantial business off of 500 people.
Yeah.
So instead of focusing so much on like growing a larger amount of people or growing all this attention, why not really focus on the handful of people that are paying attention to you and service the shit out of them and add value to their lives? If you do it that way, those people are the people that go out and go tell a friend, oh my God, you have to listen to these guys at Mind Pump. Literally have changed my life. They've bettered my relationship with my spouse. And they go out there and they advertise for you. And then I guess they bring 1 or 2 more people in. But those 1 or 2 more people trust that opinion of that friend. And then that person. And so if you think like that and you approach, you know, growing a business through social media like that versus what's happened right now of always looking for like the quick gimmick to drive a bunch of traffic, you're playing the wrong game, because any fool can have 1 million followers and build a $200,000 or $300,000 business on it. If you have millions of eyes on you, you could go like what a lot of people do and order a clothing from China, and you could flip it, put your logo on it, and sell it for double the price. And there's enough eyeballs on you that 1% of the people or 0.5% will purchase, and that's enough to make 6 figures in a year. But that's not a real business. Eventually those kids grow up and aren't going to wear your t-shirt with your name on it fucking when they're 30-something years old.
Right.
And they're not going to tell their...
That's so true.
They get a little older and they're like, what? How did I even pay attention to those people for so long?
Right, absolutely. And oh my God, I guess I am just wearing some generic shirt that's just embroidered their name on it. Like it's not, you're not a, and it's also giving the people that are having success with something like that a false reality, because they think like you're not. I'll never. This is coming, and I want to make this clear because this is your audience. They don't know me. Mm-hmm. I come from a place of I fucked up and did all those things too. Okay, I tried 3 different clothing lines, you know, in my early 20s, thinking that and you know I think the moment that really dawned on me that this isn't going to happen for me is that I can't compete with Ralph Lauren or Calvin Klein. Like I don't have that eye. I'm not a designer. Like who am I? But I was still caught up in what a lot of these kids see right now, which is gain all this popularity and then I can start a T-shirt line or a clothing brand. That's not real. Mm-mm. That's not. The people aren't buying it because you put out amazing clothes. You've done something that they think you're cool or they look up to you right now, and so then they support, they buy it. It's not a real business and it's fleeting. And I think that you see so much of that right now, and so it's just kind of perpetuating more and more people doing it.
You know, it's funny. A lot of the lessons you learn, this is why I love fitness so much. A lot of the lessons you learn through fitness, you actually can apply to other things, including how to build a business. You know, a while ago we got a question. So we do these episodes where we answer questions from our audience. So they'll ask us fitness and health questions or whatever, and we'll answer them, and that'll be part of the episode. And one question that kept popping up was, you know, what do you think if there was like if scientists came up with a pill that could make you fit? Like you just take the pill and, you know, you just get more muscular and burn more body fat. Like, what do you think about that? Right. Well, so and it kept popping up, and you know, and that might actually be a reality one day. And so I thought about this for a while, and, you know, we got on the podcast to talk about this, and I thought, you know, if you took a pill that you woke up the next day very fit, would you have the same benefits as the person that went through and learned all the things that it took to accomplish that kind of a lifestyle, to have that kind of a relationship with exercise and nutrition? Definitely not. I remember clients that I've worked with, you know, I at one point I specialized in working with the with the severely overweight. And I remember the success, the clients I had who went through and tried to develop the relationship with food and exercise and really learned how to enjoy the journey versus some of the clients that I had that tried to take certain medical shortcuts. And I understand the need for that sometimes, but I could see the disparity in success. And here's another good example. You could climb Mount Everest, get to the top, or you could take a helicopter and get dropped off. The view at the top is the same, but which person is going to appreciate it differently and which one is going to have grown far more? Which person is going to, it's all about the journey. It actually has nothing to do with the destination at all. And this, by the way, this isn't just my opinion. This is fact. You can see, there are literal studies done on lottery winners, people who win millions and millions of dollars overnight. And the percentage of them that are bankrupt, the percentage of them that have terrible problems because of the windfall of money that they won afterwards is astronomical. And you think to yourself, well, a lot of the problems should have been solved. In fact, it was the exact opposite. And part of the reason was they didn't develop any of the behaviors, strategies, discipline, and go through the trials and tribulations that it takes an honest person to earn, $50 million. They were just given the money. And they find that their happiness levels back down to baseline after a few years. And so it really is all about the journey. This is one of the things that we communicate to our audience, where it's, look, yes, I know your goal is to lose, X amount of weight. That's your goal. But the way you're going to get there long term is by the things you learn through the journey. Really the destination means nothing. The destination will happen. One step after another eventually gets you to the top of Mount Everest. But it's appreciating and understanding and enjoying and respecting the journey that makes it a success. It's not the result. It's not the destination. And I think this is something that needs to be communicated more often, not just in fitness, but in other things. And so if here we are as a fitness podcast, and we have goals that we set ourselves, but if we didn't enjoy the journey, if we didn't relish in the struggle and in the learning process and the growth process, boy, would it suck. It would, even if we hit the goal, it would be terrible. It wouldn't be worth it. It's worth it because of the journey and the struggle.
Yeah, all the hard work.
Absolutely.
I just had an interview a couple days ago, and they had asked me, I think it was the one I did for Fox, actually. They had asked me a question. They were talking about this movement of body positivity, and wanted to ask my opinion or how I felt about, like, if I think that it really is like this movement and things are changing. And, and I kind of told them too, I said, anytime you bring up something like body positivity or self-esteem or like strong is beautiful, like all these things, I'm like, it's kind of almost opening a can of worms when I'm trying to try and explain how I feel about a lot of these things or what I think the reality is. And kind of a point that I ended up making was, when it comes to body positivity, I kind of said, this is something that's like people dealing with that and having to cope and learn and change and the ups and downs. It's never going away. So do I think that there's been a shift in like media and how they're, portraying things in a way that can affect people in a really positive way? I'm like, yes, I do. You do see big businesses that are, changing the models they're using for modeling their clothes and all the stuff I said, but you have to remember that not only do we change our, like, physically as we age, we're constantly going to be doing this ebb and flow of ups and downs. And I said, I think where we're going wrong is still focusing on directing people's attention to how people look, and like saying, like, we should appreciate your body. We should appreciate your body. And I told him, I said, I think that if more people promoted happiness and worked with people on a way of just how to, like you said, enjoy the process and be happy. And everyone was fighting a lot more for, instead of just like focusing on, like, if you direct someone's attention who has insecurities with their body and you're going to direct their attention to their body,
it's going to be very hard for them to ever sort of get over that, you know, and in all of a sudden accept things about them. But if we start working with them from like a mindset and teaching them how to think about things differently and, you know, care about things outside of like just trying to fight so hard. Trying to fight so hard for like people accepting you for your body. It's like, that's where we're going wrong, you know, on like a big scale is, and I mentioned it to him with like the whole, like I was filming Wonder Woman at the time when they were really pushing for like strong is beautiful, you know, and so my honest opinion to them about that was like, well, you know, it's, I am someone who was bullied growing up for how I looked because I was physically very strong, and that's genetics for me. And I still, it's like, just because in, you know, in the media or in Hollywood now, you know, they're pushing this like, oh, now, you know, strong is beautiful and trying to speak that. I said, the reality of the situation is that's across the board with all the different people that are around and like different ages. Everyone's still entitled to whatever they think is beautiful or they don't. And a movement that you think is happening is so much smaller than the amount of people that actually are deciding for themselves. And so more people need to focus on trying to find happiness for themselves and work on mindset and just to be happy and to allow people to be different and hope that they're happy. You know, that's going to push a lot more, you know, that's going to do a lot more for, you know, equality or body positivity. And I don't think that, I mean, that is happening. And I think with the whole movement of like people being more mindful and, you know, there's a lot more talk, there's a lot more people like you guys, like being very vulnerable and being open and honest. Like the more we can do that, the more we show that we are accepting, you know, the good and the bad and being vulnerable with things you've been through. That is how we're going to make more of a big change than just, you know, I mean, it was an interview it was a media thing. So, but in that world, like in Hollywood and things like that, it's like, just because you're now saying that strong is beautiful, that doesn't mean that is how everyone feels.
Right.
You know, and just
like, I'm not strong. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, so now if strong is beautiful, like, where does that leave me? You know what I mean? Like, why can't we all just be beautiful? Jesus.
Here's I believe actually, Doug, wasn't this our last bad review? I think I got for this. I went on a rant about this topic.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't it? Yeah, I think this was the last bad review I got was when this was going around. I don't know, maybe 6 months. What did it say? 6 months, a year ago, something like that.
When we answered this, we're talking.
The truth is that there's a difference between self-image and body image, and you know, you can be somebody who is 300 pounds. I don't give a shit what you say. Okay. You have fat. You have body fat. Okay. And that is a result of the choice that you make. That doesn't mean you are fat. So there's a difference there, right? You're not fat. You have fat as a result of the choices that you've made. So you can still love yourself for who you are, but also still accept that you're not truly loving yourself, because if you were, you would take care of yourself better.
Right.
And that's what's wrong with that message is, there's
because there's proven medical issues that you will have for
100%.
Right.
You can't tell me, okay, somebody who has got they've got diabetes, they're severely obese, and that they are truly fully loving themselves. Sure, they may love themselves. I'm a good person. I have lots of friends. I'm very positive. Those are all, and you should say all those things to yourself, and you should be positive. But there's nothing wrong too with you accepting that. You know what though? An area that I'm not taking care of, I'm not feeding myself correctly. I'm not moving enough correctly, and it shows in the reflection in the mirror, and that is my body image, not my self-image.
Right.
And so you have to learn to separate the two. And what happens with that overarching message is it kind of blurs those lines, and it tries to draw a line in the sand that you're either for people accepting who they are or you're not. And it's like, no, that's not it at all. Like, we come from a very positive mindset, and we teach Sal just said it a few minutes ago when he was talking about how we try and teach clients to speak to themselves when they look at the mirror. Don't look at yourself and say, I'm fat, because you're not fat. You have body fat. Okay. We all have body fat, and some of us have a lot more. And it's a result of what we're doing. That's all it is. It's fucking science. That's all that is. This is not who you are as a person and individual. And we need to learn to separate the two of those. And the problem with this overarching message of, self-love and where it's going is it's distorting that for a lot of people. And that is a false reality.
It is. And look, I feel for people who have, issues with food and they have issues with obesity, because you're such a visible, such a visible example of some of the ways that you might not be taking care of yourself. You don't necessarily see that with other ways that we tend to hurt ourselves, right? You could
like you don't look at me and say, "Oh, that's an alcoholic."
Yeah. Well, I mean, or
I don't wear that on the outside. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Or, somebody who's just, bad with relationships. I'm a terrible friend. I'm a terrible maybe dad, or I'm irresponsible with my finances. You don't always see that. So I feel for people in that situation, because it's easy to point at them, right? It's easy to look at them and judge them. So I don't think we should do that, because we all got our challenges. Let's be honest. Some of us can hide our challenges better than the other. But the problem, like what Adam's saying, the problem with, the current, and by the way, the reason why marketers are showing pictures of, different bodies and stuff isn't because marketers are altruistic. Let's understand this for a second. Okay. Marketers are not altruistic. Marketers are trying to sell a product. What drives what they show are the consumers. Okay. So if marketers are showing different bodies, it's because it might be working, because we're buying their products. It's always a reflection on us. So I don't like to always blame, the market, because the market is just like, why are there so many liquor stores? Because people buy alcohol. Like, why are there so many, why do cigarettes, because people smoke. Like, so it's our decisions, and we're the ones driving that. So I want to, be clear with that. But the problem with the modern body positivity movement is the same problem I would see with clients or people that in the past that would say things to me like, you know what, I'm going to stop working out. I'm going to stop watching my diet because I just want to enjoy life. It's like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I remember years ago, I went to a dinner with my ex-wife. This is back when I was married to her. And we went to a dinner, and we sat around, a table with a lot of her coworkers, and she worked in a tech company. So nobody there was in the fitness space. Right. So they were all asking me what I did for a living. And I told them, I'm in the fitness space. So immediately when you say that, you can tell sometimes people are like, oh, this person's a fitness person. They're going to watch what I'm eating or whatever. I'm aware of that. Not a big deal. So we're hanging out, and this lady that was sitting at the table, bigger woman, she says, I had a friend who, was really into exercise and eating right. And, at 50 years old, she got breast cancer and died. You know what? After that happened, I said to myself, screw it. It's not worth it. I'm just going to enjoy my life. And so I heard that. I listened to that, and I said, okay. I said, look, I understand where you're coming from. I said, I think that comes from a misunderstanding of what fitness and nutrition are for you, or what they can be for you. I said, first off, there's no guarantees. We don't know how long you're going to live. But we know that you can live better through them, but really that only happens if you view it from the lens of self-care. If you're exercising and dieting to punish yourself because you hate yourself, then yes, it's going to feel like torture, and yes, it's going to feel like an escape, and it's going to feel like you're enjoying life when you stop doing that. But if you view exercise and nutrition through the lens of self-care, then that is enjoying your life. That is a better way to live. So really, it's about how you view it. And the problem with the modern, body positivity movement is what they're trying, what the way people interpret it, or I think the way it gets communicated, is love yourself, meaning never have to change anything, and objective reality doesn't exist. So everything's great, and keep doing what you're doing. Look, you can be objective, and I can say to myself, hey, look, I'm not taking care of myself physically. Like, I can say that to myself. That's okay. It doesn't make me a bad person. But I can be honest. But if I say to myself, I'm great with everything, and objectively speaking, I'm just doing everything awesome, you're living in a fantasy land, and you'll never grow. You'll never change, and you'll never grow from that. So that's where I try to be careful with how I communicate. Body positivity to me means loving yourself in the truest sense. And the way you love yourself is by looking at the way you treat yourself and saying, look, if you had a dog and you love your dog, you really love them, would feeding them cupcakes every single day be an example of you loving them? No, it'd be terrible. You'd kill your dog. You'd want to take care of them. You'd want to feed them right. Every once in a while, you give them a treat, of course, because that's part of, loving your dog too, and having them, enjoy the flavor of something.
Well, your best analogy you use for this is actually when you used your child. I mean, those of you that are parents, when the decisions that you make for them, they're not always the fun decisions. Discipline's involved in that, sacrificing certain things involved in that, but you do that because you love them.
That's right. And so if you really, body positivity should be about true self-love and self-care, which is much harder than people realize. It's very difficult to really have that honest conversation with yourself because it requires acceptance. It requires accepting that you don't, this part of my life over here, I'm not good at. I'm not taking care of myself. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to change it, but the first step to real change, is the awareness and acceptance of the reality of how certain things are. And if you lie to yourself, if you interpret body positivity as the way I love myself is eating whatever I want and doing what is expedient and pleasurable, pleasure's great. Pleasure feels good. But pleasure isn't always good for you. It just isn't, Sometimes it's bad for you. In the case of diet, food can be very pleasurable, but always eating what is pleasurable and expedient isn't taking care of yourself. Sometimes it is, of course, there's the other end of this too, right? Where you get the fitness people who are so obsessed with their nutrition that, they can't go on vacation. They can't go out to dinner. They don't have relationships with friends.
Weigh and measure everything.
Yeah, weigh and measure everything. Look, food has a lot of qualities, and one of them is the hedonistic pleasure of just enjoying the eating or celebrating the people around you, or context. If I go to the movies, part of the experience might be eating a bunch of popcorn. That's part of it. That's okay too. But if you want to have that real, true, good relationship with yourself, requires honesty. And the way that people are interpreting the body positivity movement, or the way a lot of people are interpreting it, is to lie and to not be honest with themselves, which is not solving any problems. But I do think that as fitness professionals, we need to communicate this with empathy. We need to communicate, because I think some fitness professionals come out and they're just hard about it. Hey, look, you're overweight, you're unhealthy. That's the facts. Like, okay, true. That's true, but you're not helping anybody. I think we need to communicate it with empathy, sensitivity, and also a little self-realization that, I might have figured out nutrition and exercise, so this is an easy thing for me, but I haven't figured everything out. I'm just as challenged as this person in other areas of my life. And I think if we communicate that way, we'll do a lot better. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I think I think for a lot of people that have a long road ahead of them, with in regard to weight loss or fitness goals, if they constantly feel like everything about them is wrong, the desire and drive to make those changes over a long period of time, it's just not there.
Well, it doesn't seem attainable.
There needs to be an amount, from a coach, there needs to be an amount, like you said, having empathy, but for you to be able to communicate with them and help them accept and take responsibility for, where they are and the reality. But it's also done in a way that you can almost help them accept it and forgive themselves for, how they might feel, or immediate response to, maybe not have the most positive self-talk, because now they're taking responsibility, which can be really uncomfortable,
Totally.
But the cool thing about it, and I talk about this with people all the time, what's really cool is that our bodies are amazing.
And they're constantly we're going to go through changes, and things change, and we get older, and we might gain weight and lose weight and have a baby, or, do all these things. And sometimes some of those things, we might get in a place where it could feel really far away from where you want to be.
Yes, and look, here's the reality with change. This is I think it's I need to communicate this because I think this helps people understand how real permanent change happens. And there's really two main ways, right? There's the epiphany, which is rare. Okay, an epiphany is, I smoke cigarettes and I don't want, I try to quit, I can't quit. And then I get lung cancer. I almost die, but I survive. And that's enough of a shock or an epiphany for me to finally make that change. Doesn't always work, but sometimes that happens. Most change doesn't happen through epiphany. I think we all expect that to happen when it comes to nutrition and fitness. Like, I'm going to get motivated, inspired, and that's it. Everything's going to change. Very, very, very rare. Most change happens through very, very small, challenging, okay, personally challenging, but realistic changes. Okay, it's got to be challenging because it has to feel like it's meaningful. It can't be so easy that there's no meaning behind it, but it can't be so challenging that it's not realistic. It can't be so challenging that, I say to myself, like, okay, that's it. Starting today, I'm not eating any bad food ever again. Like, that may be too challenging for you. So find small goals that are challenging but realistic for you, things that you can maintain forever. Then once you accomplish those long enough to where they become a part of how you live, then you move to the next step. I mean, I had a client years ago. She had such an apprehension to vegetables. She was literally the most unhealthy person. And I love this person now, but I liked her back then too. But she was very, very she didn't drink water. She drank Coke. She had no water at all. She drank Coke every day. Vegetables to her she was so opposed to vegetables, they made her gag, okay? So this was a very difficult process. So for her personally, we got to the point, because I did this approach with her, and where she started, what was realistic but challenging for her, was to read one page out of a nutrition book that I recommended to her once a week. That was how we started. So once a week, okay, we're not going to change anything, but just read. And then little by little, we made these very small changes. And it took her 5 years to lose 30 pounds, okay? That was 15 years ago, okay? She's gained 0 pounds back. It's permanent. It worked. So it's a very important thing to communicate to people. And it might be a hard thing to understand because I think we want things that are expedient. But look, it's... we really don't have a weight loss problem. We have a keep weight off problem, right? People lose weight every day. It's the permanence that's the issue.
Well, I also think that the fitness space, us as fitness leaders, perpetuate this problem with all the motivation shit all the time and the intensity push. And one of the things that we say, I think that's against kind of common knowledge or the norm is, my goal for a client is to do as little as possible to elicit the most amount of change. And sometimes for that, it's reading a study once a week for that person. I'm looking for one small behavioral change that I can make in their life, that I can create a new habit for them, and then I want to build on it. When you throw the whole kitchen sink at somebody, I could take anybody where they're at currently and give me 6 months, and I can kind of mathematically back it out and go, okay, in 6 months' time, I could add this much muscle to you, I could lose this much body fat to you, I can improve your mile I can figure all that out. But the reality of that is it's worth nothing if they fall off and never do it again or keep doing the yo-yo cycle. I want to implement things in their life that are going to become permanent for the rest of their life. And what I've learned over all the decades of training is that, oh shit, when I throw them all of my information or what I think they should be doing at them, most of those people can do it for that short window till the wedding, till Vegas, till whatever, but they don't actually fundamentally change their life or create behaviors that they're now going to do forever. And if I'm really, truly going to change this person's life or truly help them forever, I've got to create behavioral change. And that starts with as little as possible to elicit the most change in their life. And so when I coach that way, and it's it's the opposite of what we see through our feeds on social media right now. It's like it's all hype and motivation and intensity and push and get up. And it's like, man, I mean, that might kind of work for someone like me, like to kind of light a little fire under me because I already love fitness and I'm already closed on the value of it really well. But that's not the majority of people. Majority of people look at a lot of us in our space and like, I don't want to fucking be those guys, or I don't want to be those girls. No, thank you. Like, I've got a life. I've got other things I like to do. I don't want my whole life to be fitness. And it really doesn't have to be. You can accomplish incredible things by just learning what the big rocks are and starting to slowly implement them into your life. And so, yeah, I think that's a message that isn't said enough. And it's something that I think we repeat on the show all the time.
Yeah.
It's definitely, agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, and I've gone through, I mean, I was definitely one of those crazy people that, you know, I weighed and measured all my food. I counted for years and you know, before I actually started like counting macros, I tried a couple other ways of eating and just kind of learned about myself of, you know, what worked and what didn't work. And, but I started competing and I just, you know, as like a fitness person or a competitor, and then you start adding in like social media, I ended up having so much wrapped around how I looked that it took some like ups and downs. And really like when I was injured at a competition, I didn't qualify for the CrossFit Games. That's when I first went through a really dark place and learning how to accept myself, because I had wrapped so much of my worth around like what value I had to people that followed me around what I looked like. And it was like, that wasn't the reality, but I didn't know that. It's like I knew that people followed me, and I could imagine that they probably followed me for a lot more, for my mind, for a lot more than what I looked like or how I placed in a competition.
They follow you for your mind.
But I still like just had, insecurities that I never really spoke about. And the reason I didn't speak about them is because they were thoughts I had, but I was, worried that if I said them out loud, they might be the reality. But
yeah, go ahead.
Just learning how to, change relationship with food, and learning on, self-love and not, and self-image and not just body image, and that becoming a lot more important to me. I'm not a completely different person, but I'm just so much more, I'm just a better person when it comes to the ability to genuinely like love myself. And it's a process.
Or it's like acceptance.
Acceptance, yeah. And it's like, it's been years of work. And
it's not easy.
It will
forever journey.
It will continue to be work, you know? Yeah.
No, it's here's the thing, that this is the reality, by the way. If you're listening to this podcast and you're like, whatever, I love, I'm obsessed with my body. This is what I like doing. I'm obsessed with my looks. You are going to learn this lesson at one point.
Yeah, one way or another.
You're going to. We all get old. Okay, all of us get older.
I'm telling you, I say this all the time. I'm like, hey, enjoy how you look now, because you're just going to get older and your body's just going to look shittier. You can't fight it.
It's a lesson you will look. Here's what the path of body obsession and appearance obsession. This is what it looks like. Okay, it looks like eating habits that are not good for you, beating yourself up at the gym excessively. It looks like anabolic steroid abuse or supplement abuse. It looks like the abuse of your body through plastic surgery. Look at celebrities. So I feel bad for some celebrities because they get so celebrated for their appearance and how they look, and you see them age, and they don't age very well often. It's like plastic surgery after plastic surgery after I can't accept it. And then it's not a very, so you will learn this lesson one way or another. And I prefer to do it the easier way, because you don't want to get slammed into a brick wall and then one day realize, holy cow, like I've really abused myself for a long time and I've wasted a lot of years. So Learn this. And here's the irony. By the way, here's the irony of all this. This is how I sell this, okay? This is how I sell this to people. Because I know some people listening right now, they're like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. I got Vegas in 2 weeks.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Somebody's saying that right now. Yeah. I'll love myself later.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
let me sell this to you, okay? Here, and this is true 100%. You ask any coach, any trainer who's been working with people for a long time, this is the truth. If you take care of yourself, if your goal is health, if your goal is wellness, you will achieve a great deal of aesthetic appeal. You'll look good. Healthy looks good. If you chase aesthetics, if you chase physical appeal, you will lose your health and then you will lose the aesthetic appeal. Okay? So the reality is, if you want to look good, here's the irony, you got to focus on your health and your wellness. That's the truth, 100%. So the truth is, and this is how I sell it to people that don't really care. You want to look good? Get healthy and you'll look good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's a side effect. We were talking about this on another podcast with someone that came on, and we basically said, like, if that's what you're doing, you will obviously start to look better as a side effect of how you are treating your body.
100%.
Yeah.
What is? I was going to ask you for some reason I keep hearing myself in my headphones.
I know. I can.
First of all, you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Second,
Thank you. We like you both too.
Yeah.
What for our listeners and for us?
Yeah, because we got to wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Each of you, I think it'd be really great to hear some advice. Maybe one thing that you've learned that's really helped you in business, and then something that you experienced and you learned that's helped with how you got to where you are health-wise. Like, what's been the most important or the biggest change you've made?
I'll do a business one first, and then I'll let Adam go, and then we'll go back and forth. So here's a good business one: is learn how to work with and partner with people that are better at you at the things that you're not that good at. It requires a little bit of awareness. But if you put your ego aside, you can develop some of the best partnerships that you've ever found. And I'm extremely blessed to work with the people that I work with, because in many aspects of business, they're better than I am, and I appreciate that. Whereas a young version of myself might have felt threatened. I feel very, very blessed, and I think if you find those, know what your weaknesses are, find people who have those as strengths, I think you'll develop an amazing team.
Well, that's a nice assist for what I was thinking. So feeds right into both business and fitness for me. And I think the greatest attribute that you can develop in yourself is self-awareness. And what that looked like for me personally was questioning everything I did, good or bad. So, and I think the good ones are the ones that are hardest, right? So the things that you're having the most success in, the things that you like about yourself, you love about yourself, or you're kicking ass at, it's really easy to not unpack that and dive deep into it. It's your mask, because if you've read Lewis Howes' book, he talks about this. Many times we're fooled by these things because we've had great success in it. Another example for me, I came from very little, so I had a lot of financial success. And because I was having that, it was creating other bad behaviors in my life because it was rooted by an insecurity of not wanting to be poor. And so it took me a long time to reflect and look and unpack that. So when you're moving through life, both in business and fitness, question everything. I created practices years ago. At the end of the day, and this is why I like either journaling or meditation. It doesn't have to be all woo-woo too. So if you're listening right now, because I'm a very non-woo-woo guy, but there's a lot of value in this. I think so, and we talk on our show, right? Sal was already mentioned, like we try and communicate this to the average person. So all wellness people that are listening right now here are like, yes, like meditation, right? But the average person is like, that just sounds woo-woo to me. It doesn't have to be that. You don't have to sit with your legs folded and your hands in a praying position and hum and do weird shit like that. Sometimes for me, it's just sitting down in a quiet place and accounting for my day. and literally unpacking all of my behaviors, the way I answered the phone when that person called me and I talked to them, the way I might have blown somebody off because I was too busy at the time, the way I interacted with my partners at work, the things that I spent my most time on, were they the most important based off of my value system, just questioning everything. And I think that if you learn to practice that, you learn to develop that, and it becomes quicker. Right. So it started with me at nighttime, going back and reflecting on the day, and then unpacking each decision or thing that I did. And then I got so good at that because it became a behavior that I did all the time that it can happen on the fly now. I could be in the middle of an emotional conversation with Sal, heated over business, blah, 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 and we're firing. And he has this ability too. It's why we're great partners, and we could be firing at each other, and these get heated. And literally while I'm doing it, I'm less focused on fighting and arguing and being right with him. And I'm more like, why am I so passionate about this? Why do I feel so strongly about this? And trying to put myself in his shoes and look at it from his perspective versus just trying to win the argument. And that's just a level of self-awareness that I've achieved through years and years of trying to practice that. I think that's bled into the success that I've had in business. And I think it's bled into the success that I've had with fitness. And it's a practice that doesn't have to be so woo-woo. It can be just simply learning to take account for your day, and you start to see all kinds of things. My relationships with my spouse, my partner, like many times I've been sitting there at the end of my day and I'm thinking about all the things that might have been top of mind because something's going on with business or whatever, or clients or what. And then I realized that, my partner is far more important to me than making an extra $1,000 or making sure that this client has this. And I've deprived her because I was focused, I was distracted by something else. And it helps me reorganize my value system. And that leads to a happier life, a happier relationship. So I think the number one thing that you can focus on that will, I think feed into both business, health, fitness, and other aspects of your life is to continue to develop your self-awareness skills.
You took my answer.
I was going to say, maybe you could have talked to my ex.
Well, that's
I wish you would have met you a while ago.
Well, I was 30 when I finally met Katrina, right? So I'm almost 40 now. So we've been together for 10 years, and it took me lots of bad relationships before. Again, God, we could go down a rabbit hole here of like, we talked about fitness insecurities. There's relationship insecurities that drive us to certain people. Normally, the most common denominator in the relationships that you keep choosing is you, not the people. And you're normally attracted to things that you still haven't dealt with in your own life. So for me, I talked about the insecurity with money and want to be successful. So I attracted all the girls with the help me sign on their back. And while I was going through it, I was pointing the finger at them as, they were lazy. Oh, this. No, what am I talking about? I'm the one that fucking was attracted to them. And I was attracted to them because deep down, I had this insecurity of wanting to be like a father figure or being so successful and superior almost that I attracted those type of women in my life. And it took me, years and years and many, many girls of dating before I pieced that together. It's not them, it's me. And once I figured that out, and then I attracted a woman that was my equal and pushes me to continue to grow and be a greater person. And boy, I think, that it bleeds into all aspects of life.
She's a little bit better than you.
This probably, which means I won, right? That's it, right? Yeah. I won,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, I think we have to wrap it up.
Awesome. It was great chatting with you guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate you both having us on your show.
And then once this COVID thing slows down a little bit, you guys will have to come drive down to San Jose and come hang out for the day.
We would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd love to have you guys back on the show.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
It was a great time.
Okay.
Well, have a good, what day is it today?
I don't know.
Friday?
Yeah, isn't that funny how
all the days are blurring together. Have a great Friday.
Have a great Friday.
Stay healthy.
Yeah,
you guys do too.
Cool. And actually, before you go, let the followers, let the listeners know where they can find you.
Individually, our most active.
Individually, and basically anywhere you'd like them to be able to get information from you.
Sure. Okay. So individually, we're most active on Instagram. I'm Mind Pump Sal. Adam is Mind Pump Adam. So really easy to follow. The podcast, of course, Mind Pump, and you can find that on any platform. But what we really try to do is produce a lot of free content. We of course we have to monetize the podcast in order to support what we do, but really a lot of what it also supports is our ability to give as much free information as possible. So we have a website, mindpumpfree.com, and we have a lot of free guides and resources on everything from like how to get a better squat, how to work out your arms better, ab workouts, nutrition guides. We have one for personal trainers. So if you're thinking about being a fitness coach or you just became a personal trainer and you want to learn how to be more successful, there's a guide there. So there's a bunch of free stuff there at mindpumpfree.com. We like to drive people there because, just consume all of our free stuff, the podcast, the free resources. We have a YouTube channel, Mind Pump TV, with lots of exercise demos and stuff like that. And then hopefully we win you over and you realize that we know what we're talking about, we're experienced, and you like us and you stick around. But check out all our free stuff.
Yeah, make sure you guys go and check them out on other platforms. And I mean, if you've just listened to this whole podcast, these guys are full of really, really good information. So go check out the website for sure.
Yeah, and they're smarter than us, so.
They're way smarter.
Way smarter.
All right, guys. Well, all right. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, girls.
All right, bye. Okay, guys. Well,
all right. That was the longest podcast we've done.
That was really long. Hopefully you guys hung in there for the whole thing, but a lot of good information.
Tons of good information. Really great.
These guys are really cool.
We had been talking to him for a while trying to figure out how we were going to do this. Yeah. And that's what's so funny is I don't know if anyone ever actually looked at where do you live?
I know. I didn't realize we live so close to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, we're going to wrap it up because it's been so long. But thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, 5-star rating, 5-star warning, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.